Today, we talk Marvel Inhumans being cancelled, Kingsman Extended Universe, and do we actually need it? And we also run down our top 5 of the week spy movies in honor of Kingsman, based on the poll that you have provided us and our personal lists. Let's see if it matches up. All this right now on the F Word Podcast.
She with you?
I thought she was with you.
What is going on, everybody? It's the F Word Podcast brought to you by Entertain Facts. I am G, and with me is Nick once again. How's it going?
Fantastic. You?
Pretty good, pretty good.
That's good.
How about that new intro?
Amazing.
Pretty awesome.
I know. When you guys were telling me about it, and I'm like, and before I heard it,
Yeah.
you're like, it's really awesome. You're gonna love it. I'm like, okay, and you're going in with high expectations, but awesome.
Yeah.
Like that is legit.
Yeah, at Henry Animates was the one that did the actual the work.
video.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
can find him on Instagram. It's really cool. We also had somebody that composed the music for it. It's his own personal score that he's letting us use in tandem with it. So it's the same song. We're gonna post that in the comments below. But we release always like our topics. Let us know what kind of topics you want. But one kind of came up that no one wanted to talk about, and I thought it was a good discussion piece. Marvel's Inhumans is being canceled by ABC before the first season even airs.
What?
I know.
I was totally looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know.
Not
I didn't
really.
want to. I really.
Not really
Yeah,
at all.
exactly.
Yeah.
I want to get your actual true reaction and let you know right now.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody cared.
No.
And Nick, do you know anything about the Inhumans?
Not even a little.
Okay,
No.
so they live out in
I'm guessing
space.
they're not human.
They're Inhuman.
Inhuman.
Yes. The main person you'll get is Black Bolt, and his thing is if he even makes a whisper, he can take out an entire city. Okay?
Sounds like an X.
Yeah, pretty damn. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Right? Deep cuts.
Deep cuts.
And then Medusa is his wife. Like, her hair goes crazy, everything like that. I know Soph was a fan, kind of a fan, just for the sake of, she attacks people with her hair. But I mean, the trailers came out. No one gave a shit. I just showed you the trailer right now.
Yeah.
What did you think of it? Would you watch that show?
Honestly, the trailer didn't seem too bad because I was going in with a little bit lower of expectation. But no, it's not something where I was like, oh my god, I really need to see this. And unless you told me about the fact that if he spoke, I mean, obviously I'm not familiar with the comics.
That's okay.
But had I not known that, I would have been like, what's this guy's deal, man? Say something.
And that's one of the better points is because not everybody knows who the Inhumans are. There's a small section of people that actually know who they are. So you need to appeal this show to the masses, which 90% of them have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
Most people that watch Arrow know what Arrow is, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that had no idea what Arrow was, and they just liked it.
Yeah.
They thought it was a well put together show. So my thing with it was that the Inhumans have a huge rich backstory, and the Inhumans don't look like humans, most of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're very unique. The designs that they came up with in the comics just look like they look crazy. They've got different designs and everything, and I'm like, how can they translate this to TV?
Yeah.
And so for me, the first thing I noticed was it looks cheap.
Yeah.
Did you have the same feel?
I agree. I totally, it's
Costumes, everything. It just looked really cheap.
Yeah.
So then do you think that it's worth doing stuff like this, to that level of detail that the lore is and how unique the characters are? Do you think it would have been worth it for them just to maybe do a movie with a better budget?
You know what?
Or do you just not, does it not matter at all?
I think it just doesn't matter at all. I think what they were trying to do was, if they were going to do a movie, I think it would have been a way more of a cost to do the movie rather than to do a TV show.
Okay.
Because you're probably paying the actors maybe a couple $100,000 an episode at the most.
They're not huge actors,
yeah,
right?
they're not huge actors. So, and in order to make it as a movie, you would need at least one or two big name actors to be in it. So I see why they went with the TV angle, but it kind of comes back to the question, does everything need to be that's a comic book or a Marvel or a DC? Do we need to make everything into a TV or a movie? There's certain things where you just leave it alone. And now it's just, I think people are realizing, like, okay, this is just a bandwagon. Like, everybody's getting on the cartoon bandwagon. Like, oh, we need to do a show or a movie about this, and like Inhumans, or what's next? Captain Underpants like gets a whole new
that was
series.
a movie.
I know it
and
was.
Apparently,
but,
it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
and I love Captain Underpants. I still haven't seen it.
But that was just like a whatever.
No, yeah, I totally get you.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're just kind of getting to a point where it's like now you're just making people sick of it, so they don't even look forward to it anymore. Yeah. It's not cool anymore. Like Shield, is a great show. Like, was a great show. Like, you have Batman. Okay, a couple of different ones.
Like,
right?
you're talking about Gotham, right?
Gotham. Yeah.
Sorry,
but end it there. You don't need to oversaturate the market. Like, you don't need, just like with a restaurant, you don't need 70 different pizza places in a town that has 100 people. Like, it's not viable. So that's where my take is. I don't know. For you, were you looking forward to it? Were you? No, I could see it in your face. You're lying.
No.
Be honest with me.
Well, I mean, okay. So we've got the ABC stuff. We got the CW stuff. Then we got the Netflix stuff, which I liked better because it was a darker, smaller story.
Yeah.
But it wasn't perfect either. And Defenders actually had the lowest viewing out of all of them, even Iron Fist. And I did not like Iron Fist at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one from the get-go. Costumes look cheap. Everything looked cheap. And I was never on the oversaturated market thing because I just wanted to see more. Now I'm like, yeah, this is pointless. And you make an even better point that I didn't think about was, would it have been worth it as a movie, or would it have lost way more money? At least a TV show, they can work with a limited budget, make it look relatively cheap. But at the same time, we've got other shows that have elevated the standard of TV watching.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's a weird thing, because do we want original content, or do we want actually something that looks like there's been a lot of passion and resources obviously put into it? Right. Again, like a Game of Thrones for a lot of people, or even like Suits. Suits is on location, like it's in Toronto. It's not really in New York, but it looks like they've spent money on it.
Totally.
They're even down to their actual suits that they wear. It's legitimate suits, right? Like it feels authentic. It feels real. It feels like it's a high-end thing. The Marvel Inhumans thing looks like it's a fan-made show that, a bunch of friends got together, got some costumes, went out in the woods and started doing it, which a lot of the fan-made stuff is incredible. Yeah. Which looks better than most of the stuff on TV.
I agree.
So then it's a matter, then maybe it's not a case of you don't need to keep pumping this stuff out, because not only did they spend money on actors, costumes, getting the airtime and all that, commercials and everything like that. Now this thing's not even airing because no one cares.
Well, exactly. I think if you had taken something where, like, a character that's already almost established, that's a little bit more mainstream and well known. Like, I'm looking at your Captain America.
Sure.
So
yes,
do an origins of that on Netflix. That I think would be somewhere where somebody's like, "Oh, this is Captain America." Like it's a cool, just like Gotham did with Batman, right? Like, I mean,
okay, so you mean more like you go.
Take another version. Like, there's not many stories of the before he, like, other than the first Captain America,
first Avenger,
which was very brief.
Sure.
Right?
But you're talking about maybe fitting episodes that happen in between the campaigns and stuff.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Like, or do kind of like how Smallville was before he knew he was, like, Superman, right? You have a little bit like a story behind that, but it's a character that's known, relatable per se, right?
Sure.
Like, everybody's kind of that scrawny kid or whatever.
But it goes down to the fact that the relatability doesn't mean that, I can't relate to Captain America. I can relate to what Captain America is as a person, or look up to. So that's where that comes in.
Yeah, but I mean, something like Inhumans, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, what's a comic book? Go to the comic book store, close your eyes, and pick one. And I totally forgot about these guys. We should totally do something on them. And that's kind of what it seems like. They're just pumping stuff out. And I mean, we love our TV, but people are smarter than that these days. It's not like, like internet and then the web has made people and shows like this, not necessarily saying that ours is what up there, but I mean, people do their research now, and they're not stupid. They know what to look for in a good show, and I think you can't fool them. You can't just be like, oh yeah, this is awesome, you're gonna love it, because they'll tell you right away, no, they don't, and they have a platform where they can do it.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because most at least get that first season out of the way. Like, I know I dropped off the Shield bandwagon in the first season, and only because, and I actually I got on the Gotham wagon after, because I like that they actually did a really good job with the characters in it, and the DC, most of the DC guys are actually, it's easier to do on a a smaller budget because most of them are people. Mr. Freeze was a person. Penguin was a person. Riddler is a person. So it's a little bit easier to do that and just work on their own psyche.
Yeah.
But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it looked kind of cheap. My issue with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was that they kept name dropping the Avengers a lot.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I know Thor, and I know this person, I know this person, just to be like, hey, we're part of it, hey, and that's the only thing that bothered me. It has gotten better because I've caught a couple random episodes on TV, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty good episode. They've dropped a lot of that, but I don't think it's got the legs. I think it's gonna they're either gonna let it run to the point where no one is watching it at all, or they're just they should kind of stop it at one point, right?
That's what I liked with Smallville.
Yeah,
everybody knows who Lex Luthor is. Right, everybody knows who Clark Kent is too. But Lex Luthor, you start them off and they're friends, and you know what's going to happen. You know they're going to become mortal enemies, right? You know it's going to be, epic battle of good versus evil. But in the beginning, you're like, I hope they're friends. In season 3 or 4, where Clark was in a cave with there was kryptonite around, and Lex Luthor it caved in, and he came in and he saved him.
Yeah,
right, little stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, that's what drew me in. That's where you have a potential to make stories and be like, holy, as a fan, this is a great perspective. And I don't know, that's the kind of stuff that I think would be successful. But again, it's because you know who Superman is, you know who Lex Luthor is.
So it carries better, more weight. And actually, going back to your Captain America thing, S.H.I.E.L.D. was doing that. So I know in Age of Ultron, the season finale, I think for season 2 or 3, was them discovering that castle that the Avengers then went to go get. They kind of tied it in that way. But I mean, something like that, it's like a cheap way to do it, but it's like, oh my god, this actually ties in, and these worlds are connecting, which gets people. But I don't think anyone's going to be shedding any tears over Inhumans. Let us know in the comments. Do you care? Do you not care? You can even go on Entertain Facts and let us know in our post about our topics if you even cared at all. That was just one of the topics that just kind of dropped. Thought we'd talk about.
It's a good topic.
But I think it was really good because again, there's so many things that are coming out, and not only is the superhero genre getting tired in the movie aspect of it, but then you've got the TV side of it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Coming up next, let's talk Kingsman Extended Universe. So entertainment.finest on Instagram, which is a good friend of the F Word podcast. They had asked us about the Kingsman Extended Universe because they're looking at doing that now because we need more extended universes.
Totally.
So I'm going to pose 2 questions to you. You've seen the first Kingsman, right?
Yes.
Okay. You haven't seen the second one yet?
No.
You don't need to.
Okay.
And I'm not it's not really a spoiler. It's just you don't need to, right? It's not really going to be like, oh, I have to see this, right? Quick little thing. It was meh. All right. So don't get too excited over it. But anyways, but for this topic of conversation as well, you don't need to. But then we've got all these extended universes that are happening. For Kingsman, did you want to see it go further from the first movie? Were you interested in seeing more of that world?
Not really.
Okay. Yeah.
For myself, no. I thought it was a well done movie. And I just saw it recently.
Yeah.
So just a few weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because it was on TV, and I'm like, oh, okay, this works out perfect.
Yeah.
Right? So I thought it was a well done movie. To say that I got vested in it, and I was like, oh my god, what are they going to do next?
It's just spazzing out.
Yeah, yeah, it totally wasn't me. Yeah, and normally I'm pretty spazzy, but in that instance, I totally wasn't. I mean, I'm spazzy.
Yeah, and then you slap me in the face, and then we keep going. I get it,
exactly.
I get it.
But no, to say that I was wanting it, but again, that's where I'm a little bit of an older generation per se. I'm a little older, so for me, it wasn't like. I knew it growing up with it or whatever. I know it's a new franchise anyways, but I wasn't really like, oh, I got to see another one. No, the second one, I would still probably go see anyways, just for...
Again, if you've seen the first one,
but it wasn't
something to do. It's one of the better movies to go out this week if you haven't seen It or Mother.
Yeah.
If you like Mother.
Yeah. Yourself, were you... I know you loved Kingsman, the first one. I thought
I thought it was great.
You thought it was a great movie.
Yeah.
So... You've seen the second one, and obviously your expectations were probably a little higher, maybe.
A little bit, yeah. I was at least hoping for something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you wanting this to expand, or did the second one ruin it for you? Before the second one, did you want to see an expansion of the universe or extended universe?
Not really. The only thing I wanted, I like the characters that they had, but I thought they did a good job with that first one that they didn't need to do the second one. And then seeing the second one, I'm like, you didn't need to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was the same thing like I talked about The Hangover. You didn't need to do 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Leave it as 1 and let it just exist as something
Mike
just
Tyson
beautiful.
and the Tiger were more than enough.
It's everything I needed. And with the Kingsman too, like, and the thing with the Kingsman, the first one, they didn't do what John Wick did. John Wick, the first one, showed us this continental hotel that was the epicenter of this hitman world, right? Yeah. They had rules, regulations, they lived among the people, so on and so forth. John Wick 2 expanded upon that in such a way that I'm like, I still want to see more of this because this is really cool because it doesn't have to just follow John Wick.
Yeah.
It could follow just the Continental.
Yeah.
With Kingsman, they already showed us everything they needed to. I mean, spoilers for those of you who haven't seen the first Kingsman. Nothing to do with the second one. Yeah. I mean, the whole Taylor part of it, like and in the trailers you've seen for the new one where it's like, yeah, now they have the Statesman, which is where Channing Tatum and Jeff Bridges and the United States version of it, which is real cliche of the American way of life. Like, it was really hammered in a lot, right? Which almost made it like, I don't know, it's kind of too far for me, like, in some aspects. Not that I care too much about that. Yeah. But, like, I don't know about extended universe. Like, even when they keep expanding the Fast and the Furious. Yeah. You know, me and my buddy Mac, we lived together for a time when I was living in Calgary, and it was, like, one of the best things in the world. It was the cheesiest movie franchises. Now it's, like, somewhat legit. Yeah. But again,
after Tokyo
Drift.
Yeah,
it's just like, just stop.
Yeah.
I don't need that world. But I digress by saying that the John Wick one is like the John Wick universe. I would see it. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. I mean, it goes back to what we talked about the Inhumans. It's like maybe it's just too much. And it all depends on how that first movie went. Like, was there anything in the first movie that you were like, I really want to see more of that?
For me, not particularly. Like, I just like that one. I think we were talking about that one scene where they go into the church and like
best scene ever. I mentioned it in our review. Yeah, that was one of the most glorious things I've ever seen in the world.
Yeah. So I think like once you get into something like that, where you have a scene like that, that's so unforgettable. Yeah. Like, how do you top that, and like B, how do you do something like how do you make it better? Like, you just can't. Like, I kind of said the same thing there, and I apologize, but like it's just, you know, you have this scene and it's so like the imagery of it, you remember it, like it's ingrained, right? And then you go into the movie and you think of that scene and you're like, this is epic. You've already ruined the second movie, like, because unless they come up with something good.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know. For me, you know, like I said, and I don't get excited easily, so maybe it's just because I'm old and I, you know, just you know, it's hard for me to care anymore.
Hey man, I feel you.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. But like, you know, I'd still like to see the second one just for the sake of seeing it.
Just to say you saw it, right? Yeah. Are there any other extended universes out there that, I mean, like? And I'm kind of going like franchises, extended universes, all that stuff. The only difference I think ties into where they expand it to other things. Like, so the I don't know if the Transformers. I know you're a big fan of Transformers. Just like the toys for sure started, the TV show, all that stuff. Yeah. And they're doing their Bumblebee spinoff, which may or may not tie into it, which would make it an extended universe as opposed to just a series of movies that kind of tie into each other. Yeah. Like with Kingsman, if they were to do the Statesman, then they go to Canada, and then they've got like these other men, or like the lumberjack men or something, and they go to Australia, and they've got like but I mean, like they take these stereotypes from each of these different cultures and stuff. Like, would that doesn't seem like it's anything that would be good. Now
you're doing is nationalizing a spy, like a James Bond in Canada or whatever. Like, I don't see a huge draw in it. I think one movie franchise where I thought they could do something cool, unfortunately I think it failed, was the Ninja Turtles. I thought they could have done something. Oh, yeah,
the newer one. Yeah. They could have so much, man. So I love the Turtles. Yeah,
like get into the whole Krang and like, you know.
And they touched on it, but it was so shoehorned in.
Yeah, like I that was one where it was like, I thought an epic fail. I thought they could have done both something. Of them. Yeah. But, you know, that's one where, you know, and again, you're kind of tying into that nostalgic factor where a lot of people know who the Ninja Turtles are. Like, you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you knew who they were.
It was everywhere. It was the biggest thing ever. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when they said that they're wanting to expand it, I don't know if they will now, just because I don't think this movie's doing very well. No. I think something like 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know how much money it's going to make. We were at the movies last night, and there was nobody in the theater, barely.
Oh, really?
Like, there was probably 20 of us, maximum.
It's also late.
Yeah, but, you know, if it's a late movie, like Spider-Man Homecoming, packed.
Yeah.
When
Spider-Man again.
When we saw It,
yeah,
packed. Those are bigger names, of course, but and that's the other thing. Maybe they overvalued how much that first movie meant to people.
And that's possible too, right? Like,
and that's why, like, maybe the talks of an extended universe is like, you know what, this was good as one. It's not as good as you think. It's like it's good.
Yeah.
But it's not as good. Leave it as one. Let people just be happy with it.
When was the Kingsman made? Do you
I want
know
to say
what
2015.
Year?
I think 14, 15, something like that.
You're not even leaving enough time in between for people to miss it.
That's a good point.
And that's something where I think people just they totally, they're like, oh, we did one, we had success, let's do another one
right away. Yeah.
And it's no, like, I mean, Star Wars has it right in between, like, I mean, between the episode 1 through 3 and then now with this new set, right? There was years in between, and then even in between each movie there's like a year or two, or well, maybe not.
Well, they've
so
got their
now.
anthologies, right? So it is, I get what you mean. Like, episode 7 came out, the year after was Rogue One, and then the year after that is the next episode leading it. So you're actually getting that kind of 2 years in between. You can build anticipation, right, while they fill it in with these anthology things.
Whereas for Kingsman, maybe if they waited another year or two, and like, you know, oh, things are in talks now, and like you get people hyped up about it, then maybe you'll get a better turnout. But like, for me, I think it was just too quick.
Yeah, and that's what I mentioned in my review too. There was a lot of stuff in this where it was like they were creating a movie that people loved 10 years ago so much. And then they rehashed a lot of the stuff that they had in the first one, which was cool. Like, some of it was cool. It wasn't a bad movie, right? It wasn't like American Assassin. But it wasn't a long enough time where people were like, we really need it. Like, we need a Kingsman 2 to come out and really change things up or whatever. And they kept throwing that nostalgia stuff in there from the first one. It's like, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah. Right? So, and if they do an extended universe, well, what? They're going to now follow the Statesman and some subsection of that. And then they're going to start, again, go to Canada and go here and there and Australia and then have all these guys. And then it's just going to, make it brutal and no one's going to care about it. Because if people don't care about this one, that might get scrapped altogether. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's... I'm hoping that they don't do it. I hope it makes money, because it's not easy making movies. I've never made one before, but just imagining in the credits that are there. Yeah. And I mean, people need jobs, and maybe the actors were good. Maybe they'll make it a TV
show now. Honestly, that's what I see happening.
Yeah, but then maybe it'll be better. But the gadgets are so over the top that it might be just cheap. Who knows? Yeah. May not be a good idea. But let us know what you think about the possibility of a Kingsman extended universe, and do you want it? Nick, that was a show.
Awesome.
So we covered some Inhuman stuff. We covered the Kingsman 2. If you get a chance to see it, check it out. If you're on the fence, take a look at our review, see what we're saying about it, and if it's like, oh, maybe I will see it just to see if I line up with you or not, or if, some of the points that we made were interesting enough that you want to see it, or just wait to see it when it comes out on a Netflix or something like that. That's the F Word Podcast. Nick, thank you again for coming, man.
Thank you, man.
Love having you here. And I am G, and we are out. And now, our top 5 spy franchises. Because Kingsman's coming out, we thought, let's just do it, see how it goes. And the results were quite surprising. So we put out our poll, and our choices were between Kingsman, the Bourne franchise, James Bond, Austin Powers, Mission Impossible, Spy Kids, and there was one more, and I'm blanking on it. But based on your votes, all 293 people voted on this. Kingsman was number 1 at 29.69%, James Bond at number 2 at 26.62%, Austin Powers franchise at 17.75%, Mission Impossible at 10.58%, and Spy Kids at 7.85% taking the votes. Bourne did not make it at all. So, how did it fare with ours? Well, it's a little bit different. We didn't have Kingsman on our top 5 between myself, Nick, and Anthony, only because it's a standalone movie so far. They've got the second one. We haven't considered it a franchise yet. So ours went as follows. James Bond is number 1 because it's James Bond. I mean, what else do you need? Austin Powers, because it's Austin Powers and it is awesome. We also had Mission Impossible coming in at number 3. Then we had the Bourne franchise at number 4. And then we had Spy Kids at number 5. If for those of you who don't remember Spy Kids, it was at one point pretty decent, but there aren't a lot of spy franchises anyways. So that's our top 5. Look out for next week. We got another top 5 coming out for you. We'll give you hints on our Entertain Facts page. That's at Instagram at Entertain Facts. Leave a comment below. Follow me on Twitter at the FWordsG. And we hope to see you next time. I'm G. That's our top 5. Thanks for watching our show, and I'm out.